In a political climate where transparency and leadership are paramount, Donald Trump has once again raised eyebrows by pulling out of a highly anticipated interview with 60 Minutes, just days before it was scheduled to air. For over half a century, 60 Minutes has stood as a symbol of journalistic integrity, hosting interviews with both Republican and Democratic candidates ahead of major elections. This tradition, one that many political figures have participated in, is now seemingly upended by Trump's last-minute decision to opt out, leaving Vice President Kamala Harris as the sole candidate featured on the upcoming election special. The question on everyone's mind is, why? Why would Trump, a figure known for his brash confidence, decide to pull out of a major platform that could offer him an opportunity to address millions of voters? Is the former president, who once prided himself on taking on all comers, now running scared? 60 Minutes has been a cornerstone of American political discourse for over 50 years, renowned for its tough but fair approach to interviewing political candidates. Every major election cycle, it has offered a platform for presidential candidates to lay out their policies, defend their records, and, most importantly, face challenging questions from some of the country's top journalists. This year, the program is set to air a special episode featuring interviews with the key candidates on October 7th, 2024, at 8 p.m. As the show approached, both Vice President Kamala Harris and Donald Trump's campaigns initially agreed to participate. Harris, an experienced and seasoned political figure, welcomed the opportunity to speak with correspondent Bill Whitaker. Trump, who initially accepted an interview with 60 Minutes veteran Scott Pelley, has now backed out at the 11th hour. According to the official statement from 60 Minutes, Vice President Harris will speak with Bill Whitaker after initially accepting 60 Minutes' request for an interview with Scott Pelley. Former President Trump's campaign has decided not to participate. While the invitation remains open, it seems unlikely Trump will reverse his decision. A 50-year tradition broken. Trump's withdrawal from this tradition has sparked widespread criticism, with many noting the symbolic importance of the interview. For over 5 decades, candidates from both parties have engaged with 60 Minutes, recognizing the weight that such a platform carries. This latest move, however, signals a potential turning point in how Trump engages with the media and the public. Political commentator Roland Martin captured the sentiment on Twitter, writing, "So, Harris has agreed to a 60 Minutes interview, but weak, scared, and impotent Donald Trump pulls out. What a weasel." Similarly, other commentators have lambasted Trump's decision, pointing out that it reflects a growing fear of engaging with mainstream media in a meaningful way. In many ways, Trump's decision to skip the interview mirrors his approach to debates and media appearances in recent months. Rather than facing the scrutiny of tough questions, he has opted for more friendly platforms, where the lines of inquiry are far more forgiving. A repeat of 2020? Trump's retreat from 60 Minutes isn't unprecedented. In 2020, he famously stormed out of an interview with Leslie Stahl after being asked what many considered to be basic, straightforward questions. During that interview, Trump appeared frustrated and defensive, struggling to handle Stahl's fact-based questioning. The incident culminated in Trump cutting the interview short and leaving the set, sparking days of media coverage. One of the most memorable moments from that interview was Trump's false claim that he had a healthcare plan ready to unveil. Stahl pressed him for details, and in response, Trump's then press secretary, Kayleigh McEnany, handed Stahl a large book, supposedly containing the plan. Upon closer inspection, it became clear that the book was filled with blank pages. No healthcare plan, no details, just another empty promise from the Trump administration. Here we are, 4 years later, and Trump still hasn't provided a concrete healthcare plan. His response to challenging questions then, as now, seems to be avoidance. By pulling out of this year's 60 Minutes interview, Trump may be signaling that he's learned little from the past. Many of Trump's critics believe his decision to back out of the 60 Minutes interview speaks to a deeper fear of real journalism. Unlike the friendly confines of conservative outlets like Fox News, where Trump is often free to make wild claims without challenge, 60 Minutes is known for its rigorous fact-checking and unflinching questions. Journalist Angry Staffer encapsulated this sentiment, writing, "Donald Trump is scared to do a 60 Minutes interview, scared to debate Kamala Harris again, too afraid to be president." Indeed, Trump has shown time and again that when confronted with facts or tough questions, he either becomes combative or flees the scene. A 60 Minutes interview would likely have brought up many of the contentious issues surrounding Trump's recent campaign, his role in the January 6th insurrection, his ongoing legal battles, and his divisive rhetoric about immigration and abortion rights. With so much at stake, it's no wonder his handlers are keen to keep him away from any platform where he might be held accountable. Kamala Harris stepping up. Meanwhile, Vice President Kamala Harris is poised to take center stage in the upcoming special, showcasing her ability to engage with voters on critical issues. Harris has proven herself a formidable opponent in debates and interviews alike, deftly handling tough questions while maintaining composure. In contrast to Trump's evasiveness, Harris has taken a more direct approach to addressing key issues, such as border security, women's rights, and health care. In a recent speech in Arizona, she spoke about a bipartisan border security bill she helped craft, emphasizing the importance of practical, comprehensive solutions. "Donald Trump tanked it," Harris said, referencing the former president's obstruction of the bill for his own political gain. Harris is expected to use her 60 Minutes interview to further solidify her stance on these issues, contrasting herself with Trump, who has often relied on fear-mongering and misinformation to rally his base. Trump's history of evasion. Trump's reluctance to engage with tough interviews is nothing new. Throughout his political career, he has frequently dodged difficult questions, opting instead for media outlets that offer a more sympathetic ear. This pattern has become especially pronounced in recent years, as Trump's claims have grown more outlandish and harder to defend. Take, for example, Trump's now infamous remarks to suburban women during the 2020 campaign. "Suburban women, will you please like me?" Trump pleaded at a rally, sounding more desperate than presidential. When 60 Minutes asked him about these comments, he dismissed them as a joke, despite having repeated the plea multiple times. Even more recently, Trump continues to insist that suburban women love him, despite polling data indicating otherwise. And then there are Trump's bizarre comments about hurricanes, immigration, and even the environment. During a rally in Wisconsin, Trump rambled about a fly buzzing around him, bizarrely tying it into an anti-immigrant rant. These odd, disconnected moments have only fueled concerns about Trump's ability to lead effectively, and it's clear why his team might be wary of putting him in front of serious journalists who could expose these weaknesses. The real reason Trump pulled out. So why did Trump pull out of the 60 Minutes interview? While his spokesperson Stephen Chung claims that the show's insistence on live fact-checking was unprecedented and unfair, the reality is that interviews, especially those on platforms like 60 Minutes, are designed to hold candidates accountable. Chung's statement reads like a desperate attempt to shift blame, calling 60 Minutes fake news and accusing the program of bias. But the truth is that 60 Minutes is doing its job, asking tough questions and ensuring that candidates are held to account. If Trump can't handle that, it speaks volumes about his readiness to lead once again. Donald Trump's decision to pull out of his 60 Minutes interview is yet another example of his growing aversion to real scrutiny. In a time when voters are looking for transparency and accountability, Trump seems more interested in dodging questions and avoiding tough conversations. Meanwhile, Kamala Harris is stepping up, ready to engage with the issues that matter most to Americans. As she prepares for her interview on October 7th, Harris will have the stage to herself, an opportunity to present her vision for the future without the distraction of Trump's evasions. In the end, Trump's decision to back out of 60 Minutes raises one important question. Is he running scared? Based on his behavior, the answer seems to be yes.